Hi, good afternoon. Thank you guys for watching once again. We're just kind of going to go through the Knicks game real quick. You guys, if you like the show, really appreciate it by subscribing and giving me a thumbs up for the analysis I'm going to give on this game the Knicks just played. Um, also, I want to have you guys, if you guys can just excuse the video, it's a little sticky. It's not as great as I thought it was going to be, but here we go. So, from the beginning, this game was really about defense, and the Knicks basically playing to their strengths on offense. And obviously, throughout this whole game, defense was their biggest strength, and you saw that in the beginning of the game. On the first possession, the first Pistons possession, the Knicks forced a turnover, and it was just about like that for the majority of the game. Uh, RJ Barrett was aggressive throughout the whole game. Early on, he struggled, had trouble making shots, but he was very aggressive going towards the rim, and also made sure he basically attacked the paint. It wasn't just him throughout the game. Julius Randle also did a good job attacking the paint. As you see on this clip here, RJ Barrett went to the hole, tried to finish strong, but he got fouled and went to the line. As you see, RJ Barrett is really still struggling with his shooting. He couldn't even make that first free throw, but he was able to make the second free throw. And let's just kind of move a little further on. So later, this is basically a few sequences later. Knicks come down. They're really struggling on offense. RJ Barrett had a wide open three but missed it. But luckily, they played very good defense. So Detroit also struggled as well. RJ stayed aggressive. On this possession, he goes to the basket, wasn't able to finish at the rim. And luckily, Nerlens Noel is there to clean it up for him. This was a very difficult game to watch. I mean, to tell you the truth, um, it was a great defensive game, and you can tell what the Knicks are going to do this year. I do think they're going to win a few games, quite a few games, but it's going to be ugly and it's going to be about playing defense. The Knicks offense, the starting lineup struggled on offense quite a bit, especially on the half court offense. It was very difficult for them to figure out how they were going to get buckets. And but if you see on this drive here, Knicks were able to get back on defense, but Blake gave a great pass to the rookie and the rookie finished and got an and one. Goes to the line and he was able to make the 3-point play. Knicks come down on offense again, and they're trying to initiate something. They have Nerlens trying to drive to the basket. That's definitely not his strength. He turns over the ball. Pistons go the other way. But Knicks get back on defense and play pretty good defense. They get an open three in the corner, but Grant misses, and the Knicks are back down the floor. They're really struggling in offense. There's just another example. Julius gets the ball on the side, tries to go to the basket, and he was able to dish the ball off to Nerlens Noel, but luckily he got fouled and was able to go to the line. We're going to fast forward a bit a little later in the into the first quarter. As we got later into the first quarter, the starting lineup struggled so much on offense that they ended up having to bring in the second unit. And the second unit actually did a pretty decent job when they came in. I'm just trying to find the moment where they brought in the second unit. And it might have been around this point. You can tell basically, I think Thibodeau called a timeout. He did start substituting really slowly, but then he called the timeout and I think basically brought in a whole new lineup um, later in the first quarter. And it consisted of Dennis Smith Jr., Frank Ntilikina, Kevin Knox, Obi Toppins, and Mitchell Robinson at the five. Second unit did such a good job that coach left them in the second quarter to start off the second quarter. And they still struggle shooting in the half court, even in transition. They really struggle shooting the outside, making the outside shot. But the second unit played pretty good defense. They did have better luck scoring the basketball than the first unit did. And they also did pretty well holding up on defense. The only problem with the second unit, as you see here, there were a lot of fouls. They committed a lot of like silly fouls that were unnecessary. There was a lot of moving screen fouls on the offensive end. But here they did a pretty decent job playing defense, so they still did a very good job. Here's Mitchell playing against Blake Griffin. He did a good job, turns away the shot. And Obi Toppin, I don't think he's as great of a ball handler as everybody thinks, but it's good enough, right? It's good enough for him to get the job done. And Obi played a great game. He was very aggressive, went to the basket, and he took his time. I really felt like Obi Toppins really settled the team down. And the great thing about this lineup too that I really liked, and I like what Thibodeau did with this was instead of bringing in the first unit back in to play against the Pistons starters, what he did was he just left in the second unit to see how they did against the to see how they do versus the Pistons starting lineup. I really think that sends a message to everyone. I think really what it is like these older guys are going to continue to start, and these young guys are going to have to win the minutes. But it's really about the young guys. It's a goal, right? It's trying to he's trying to get them uh, to basically fight for that starting position and to play better, uh, to be more committed on the defensive end, to be more consistent on the defensive end, and also to make better decisions on offense. As you see here, Obi Toppin did a great job give and go with Kevin Knox. Kevin Knox giving the ball back, and he finishes with a dunk. So they did a much better job on offense than the starting lineup. You can just tell with this younger squad, they just have it on offense. They play better on offense um, than the first unit does played. But they're very undisciplined, as you see in that situation. Mitch Robinson did a great job playing defense, and instead of being patient, he got way overly aggressive and ended up fouling the offensive player when they already basically did a great job. And so the Pistons struggled against our defense, and this was a great game because it gives you a pretty good idea. This is who you would think we kind of compare to as far as teams in the league. And so, in terms of talent, in my opinion, and so this is a very good benchmark for us, you know, and to see how we're going to fare. And so, if we play consistent the way we did today, I think we're going to win some ball games. I definitely feel like everyone is sleeping on this team. But the thing with the NBA is, if you play good defense, you're going to give yourself a very good chance of winning. Knicks tried to push the ball, as you see here, but it was tough. It was tough. They struggled on offense. If you see, Kevin Knox went to the basket and was kind of wild, and that was kind of a weak move to the basket and wasn't able to finish. Pistons that come back. Blake Griffin finds Okafor in the paint. So this is where we're going to struggle. If we play against teams that have a big man who knows how to play in the post, they're going to abuse us. And Okafor had like a few possessions where he just abused our team in the post. Once again, here's Obi. He does a very good job operating in the post and was able to find Dennis Smith Jr. when Dennis cut to the lane. And so he does a very good job. I think the Knicks are in very good hands with Obi as he gets better on offense because he's gonna really settle us down. And his defense, as long as he works hard on defense and gets in the right positions, we're going to be able to hide a lot of his weaknesses. And Frank Ntilikina was also in this lineup, obviously. And it's good having him in the lineup because, look, he's a very good playmaker. And so I kind of felt like they should have done more, ran more of the offense, have Frank Ntilikina initiate more of the offense. They would have looked better if they did that. But it is what it is. It seems like he's going to be playing mostly off ball. So, so it looks like in this clip here, essentially um, the second unit started to wear out a little bit, so they brought in a couple of starters back in. And one of the reasons why that is because Mitch Robinson, he gets really indisciplined. He's not in shape too, so he wasn't able to finish with the second unit. As you see here, Obi Toppin is going to struggle on the defensive end. If he gets isolated, he's going to get taken advantage of. Blake Griffin just licked his chops, took him to the basket and won. It was just too easy. And they're trying to coach him up to tell him, hey, look, just keep your hands up, don't go for the fake. I'm sure that's what they're telling him there. So after a while, it was basically they brought in all of the first unit back in to finish the half, and they struggled. The Knicks struggled a bit and on offense, and I think they ended. It was essentially tied at the half. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go basically a little fast forward to the third quarter. So in the third quarter, RJ Barrett picked it up. He went 6 for 8 in the third quarter, and he played much better. He was aggressive, went to the basket. The Knicks went to the basket. Julius, everyone was going to the basket, and that's the thing. They're just going to have to play to their strengths. You can't worry about making 3 pointers and all that other stuff. You got to play defense because that's what we do. We're going to be a great defensive team, and we're just going to take whatever we can get on offense, and it has to be what we're comfortable getting. As you see here with their defense playing really good defense and being aggressive and going to the basket, the Knicks were able to open up a 9 point lead here. And by the time basically the second squad came in, they basically opened up the lead. The Pistons really struggled throughout this game on offense, and it was mostly because of the Knicks defense. And so you got to give credit to the Knicks and how they play defense. But on offense, they have a long way to go on offense. This is going to be an ugly, ugly offensive season unless they're able to figure this out pretty soon. But I still think they're going to win some ball games. You can win ugly. You can win ugly all day in the NBA. So in the third quarter, Thibodeau did kind of mix and match the lineup a little bit, and so there was a few people that were in the starting lineup, hadn't played with the second unit, just to get an idea. Um, I think he was just trying to find what he thought his most optimal lineup was going to be without actually playing too much of the young guys, right? At least having them essentially start. And so, I think he just really wanted these guys to work hard. And in this lineup, he had all the young guys essentially. He had Frank, Obi, Dennis Smith Jr., R.J. Barrett, and Mitchell Robinson. They were all on the court at the same time. The issue with them, they can be a little sloppy on offense. They still have a lot to do, a lot to work on offense. They a lot of bad passes. Obi Toppin had a few turnovers. But again, on defense, though, as you see here, um, Pistons come down the court. Then Derrick Rose tries to go to the basket, but almost turns it over. But luckily, I think he got bailed out with a foul. But it's just the Knicks defense was just way too strong and it was too solid. And So in this sequence, we're showing more of the Knicks, how they were doing on defense in the third quarter. At this point, all the young guys were in the lineup. They played great defense. Were able to turn the Pistons over, came down the court. As I said, they still struggled on offense. They were really sloppy with it, and it's almost like they need someone to settle them down. I feel like Dennis Smith Jr. really forced it a lot. Really forced it a lot. And it's almost like he doesn't really know how to create the spacing and find the angles to make the passes that he want to make, especially in traffic. So in this one, they come down the court again, and Dennis Smith Jr. is like he's doing a good job directing people around, but even he struggles even running the pick and roll and trying to even being able to hit like Mitchell Robinson on a pick and roll. This time he gives it to Kevin Knox. Kevin Knox misses the wide open shot. And Pistons come right back down the fast break, gets an easy layup. They go right at Dennis Smith Jr. Again, with Dennis Smith Jr., I mean, like he's Thibodeau calls a timeout here because it was just he's seen enough on the defensive end. Honestly, with Dennis Smith Jr., it's really tough. He seems better. He's directing traffic a little better, but he has such a long way to go. I'm wondering if they're better off just playing Frank at the point. But then again, if they're playing Dennis Smith Jr. at the point, then only God knows what Frank looks like. And there's quite a few times in this game where Frank struggled with it, struggled handling the ball, and so that that surprised me quite a bit. And so this team is really struggling. I think I believe I know it was only the first game, but it definitely does not look good the way these guards look, and it definitely looks like this team definitely does need a point guard. I'm a huge Frank Ntilikina fan. I'm rooting for Dennis Smith Jr. really hard as well, but they just have such a long way to go, and I don't know if they're going to be able to get there. And but let's check out a few more of the plays in the fourth quarter. The game did tighten up in the fourth quarter, and of course it was because of their struggles on offense, and they turned over the ball a lot on offense as well. So we're going to pick up here later in the fourth quarter. Game tightened up just a bit, and it got ugly. It's like I said, it's not a lot to say about this team's offense, about the Knicks offense, except that it was pretty ugly. Um, they were able to, find baskets where they needed it, but they struggled quite a bit on the offensive end. They struggled making plays, finding open men, but their defense was stayed pretty tight. Still play very good defense. So here we have Pistons went to basket. On the way to the basket, somebody got fouled, it looks like. It's like this sharpshooter here got fouled. I don't know who fouled him or why, but you can't complain because the Knicks, they were very aggressive, and I think that's why, that's one of the reasons why there were like quite a bit of fouls. But the Pistons, they try to make a game of it. Like they really tried, and the Knicks were able to hold off. And lucky for the Knicks too, Blake Griffin basically didn't play in the fourth quarter as well. They sat him in the fourth quarter. So here the Knicks come down on offense. Alfred has the ball, goes to the lane, tries to find someone in the corner, Bullock, but Bullock misses the shot. So here comes the Pistons again. They come down the court, try to play a little up tempo. They knew they had something with this shooter here, and but they try to quicken the pace of it so they can uh, dislocate the Knicks a little bit. And it worked here. They were able to get a nice shot. And so the Knicks come down the court again. Julius Randle has the ball on the wing, trying to see if he can make something happen in the paint versus the rookie. But again, it was tough sledding. Gets the ball to Peyton, and Peyton barely hits the rim. So this was just, it was just pretty ugly stuff. And the only thing that saved them was the fact that they're playing defense. And this is why defense is extremely important, in the NBA. There's three primary determinants of whether or not you win ball games in this league. It's your defense, how well does your opponent shoot versus you do, how well do you shoot? So obviously the differential is a big deal. It's the most important part. But the third piece is rebounding. Basically being able to finish off the defensive sequence. And so that's what's important. And as you see here, Pistons kept coming and kept trying, but the Knicks defense was too good. Nerlens had a nice block there. Occasionally, the Knicks were able to find baskets when they needed it most, but they didn't find much. They found very few. Um, you know, Julius kind of reverted back to his old habits, dribbling into double teams, and it was just it just didn't look good. Dribbled into a double team and try to force it, and at the last minute, try to see if he could find someone to pass it to. Here they take the ball. Julius has the ball, gives it to Alfred. Alfred shoots and he misses. And so shooting is just not going to be the Knicks' forte. Maybe later in the season they're going to shoot better. But I don't even think, I think Frank was the only one who made a 3-point shot, actually, from the corner, of course. And again, their defense saves them. They come right back down the court. RJ gets the little man on him, spins, goes baseline. So very good, quick, very good recognition by RJ, seeing that he had, everyone was a back yet, and he had a smaller guy on him. So he just abused the dude, took advantage of him. So that's what the Knicks are going to have to be. They're going to have to be very opportunistic and just play to their strengths. All they know how to do is basically go to the basket and finish in the paint. So that's what they're going to have to do, and then play defense. This guy got hot. I'm sorry, I wish I could remember his name. I can't even pronounce it, but he got really hot in the game, and so he kind of helped close the gap for the Pistons. Knicks came back down again. Alfred almost turned the ball over, struggled with it, and was able to give the ball to Julius. Julius dribbles into a double team and turns it over. Like I said, he just kind of really reverted back to a lot of the stuff he was doing towards the end of this game, especially in the second half, because the offense really struggled. And so, honestly, once Obi Toppin comes on and starts to play better, I can definitely, see him, overtaking Julius, and it might take probably a few weeks into the season, but I definitely see Julius Randle getting traded. Because I really thought that, like, okay, you know what, with the new coaching staff, they're going to sit him down, watch a lot of videos. Look, and don't get me wrong, it is the first game, but just it being the first game, how quickly he reverted back to all the things he was doing last year. Basically dribbling into double teams. He didn't do the spin move. He didn't spin into a double team, but he dribbled into a double team. Like it's weird how he does it sometimes. It's almost like his head is down, dribbles right into it, and turns over the ball. And there's quite a few times he didn't turn it over, but he was almost close to turning it over. And there's a few times, other times where he just turned it over because he dribbled into a double team. And so I do think like Obi Toppin basically overtakes him for the power forward position at some point this year. And it's only because of the fact that I don't think they're going to be able to salvage Julius Randle as a player on this team, in my opinion. And it's mostly because he just it's he just need to be better and making decisions, especially on offense, not dribbling into double teams and just kind of having a better feel, being able to like maybe poke the defense a little bit to see what happens and then back off and do this stuff without basically giving up your dribble, right? And to just try to like bait people into making a bad decision and hopefully finding a man cutting to the basket where he can find someone cutting to the basket. But but he really struggled. Although he did make some big baskets for us down in the fourth quarter late to help close the game out. But it's just, but he turned over the ball quite a bit also before the end of the game. So let's just finish the rest of the game. So Alfred Payton gets in the lane, passes the ball to Nerlens, and Nerlens missed it, basically missed a hook in the paint. Pistons came down, but again, because the Knicks defense, it's they couldn't really they couldn't really do much with it. So the Knicks were able to turn them away to get the rebound, and they tried to take some time off the clock, which is smart. and this is what they're going to have to do. If they catch a team off guard and basically take a big lead, because of their defense, they're going to be able to hold on to that lead. Because even in the fourth quarter, even like with a team like the Knicks, the team that they have, if they can catch a team off guard and they get like a 15-point lead going into the fourth quarter, I mean they can probably find a way to win it. Julius Randle, this is one of the shots he made. It was an and one. He dribbled right free towards the free throw line, pulled up, hit the shot versus against the rookie, and the rookie fouled him on the way up. And so this was essentially the ball game. Julius did hit another three-pointer from the corner, but this was essentially the ball game. And so again, like I said, Knicks. This was a very interesting game. It definitely taught us. It definitely, taught me a lot about like Tom Thibodeau's approach. Again, like I said, I really think Tom Thibodeau, what he's trying to do is, he's definitely not trying to give the minutes to these kids. He's trying to make them earn it. And it's true. It is right because these honestly the kids they suck. They're talented, but they're very inconsistent, and there's no way to put it that they suck. And the reason why I say that they suck sometimes is because like you get stuff like the moving screens. They don't know how to. Mitchell Robinson got a couple of those. Obi Toppin got a moving screen. I know it's early in the year and everyone's trying to get acclimated. So, but they are very inconsistent, and that's why they were not able to crack the starting lineup. Now, if these guys really um, you know, watched a lot of video and worked really hard and did everything they were supposed to do, I think they would have been able to start. Mitchell Robinson should have been able to start, but you can tell that he actually wasn't in great shape. Again, it is the first game, but he wasn't able to beat Nerlens Noel out of that starting position. And you can tell why. Nerlens Noel did a good job. He did everything Mitchell Robinson can do. And then the extra additional part that he can do that Mitchell hasn't been able to do yet is to hit the baby jump shot. Mitchell Robinson has a long way to go from that standpoint. Kevin Knox, he did pretty well. He played solid. He missed some open shots, but he still has quite a bit of a way to go, as you see with the first time when he drove to the basket. It was kind of like it was a little wild and it was also a little weak. It's almost like he lost his footing. I don't know if he lost his footing or if he was going weak and he was a little off balance, and so it was an odd looking shot going basically across the lane. And Frank Ntilikina, obviously Frank, um, because I haven't even seen him play enough. But the fact that he wasn't able to crack the starting lineup or even, crack the lineup as a point guard, it shows that maybe a lot of what people were saying were right. You know, Granted, he hasn't had like a lot of in-game practice, but look, you got to prove it in practice, and it's true. If you can't show it in practice, why should you have the opportunity to show it like in a live game? Dennis Smith Jr. He wasn't able to start either, and you can tell why. I mean, like he struggled just even making plays for his teammates. Even on a simple pick and roll plays, he kind of struggled making plays there. There's a couple of them where he was able to get loose and kind of get to the paint and get a layup, but he couldn't even connect with Mitchell Robinson on the lobs. I think Pistons were looking for it as well, so they played it. And they played it hard because they figured like, that's all Mitchell Robinson can do, and that's all basically Nerlens Noel can do. So it did make it hard for DSJ. But he didn't crack the starting lineup, and you can just kind of tell why he struggled as well on the offensive end, running the team. And the other person, I'm trying to think who else. So Frank was at the shooting guard. Obi Toppin played great. Like I said, it's he's going to struggle on defense, and I think on offense, I think the issue with him on offense is he needs to kind of settle down. He takes a lot of risky passes, and honestly, I don't think his handle is as great as everyone says it is. He's a very stiff, upright dude, and so people that are that upright and that stiff, he's got a very high dribble, makes it easy for people to pick his pocket. So he is not like he can dribble, bring the ball down like under. under full court pressure, or even with a man on him, full court. So I think some of that need to be tempered down a little bit. But in terms of being able to start, I do think like given the way Julius played like in the second half, it's kind of a toss up. But I think at this point you kind of have to go with Julius because um, if you want to move away from Julius Randle, and you want like Obi to start, you have to let Julius start at least for the first couple of months, just so he can build up his trade value. Hopefully, he balls out and plays a lot better than he did today. And so they can trade him. And if he balls out, that's going to be a first round pick for the Knicks. So that's kind of what I got, from what Tom was thinking, the way he basically played the lineups. He started those vets that came from other teams, not because they're great players. These guys struggled on offense as well. I think it's really just, I think the issue is he wants to let these young guys really earn it and beat these guys out. And if they don't beat these guys out, then they're not going to start. Then it shows that they're not going to be quality NBA players, at least not starting level players. You can really see why they're not start. They're not very consistent. They make a lot of mistakes. They make a lot of unnecessary fouls sometimes, especially Mitchell Robinson. Great potential. Like sky's the limit for this kid. But like, when is he gonna grow up? When is he gonna stop? Making foolish fouls. And there was a couple of them. I mean, he played okay. He didn't go too crazy with the fouls, but there's a couple of fouls where I just kind of felt like it was unnecessary. When they played great defense, they had the guy basically almost trapped. He had the one Pistons player was going backwards towards their own backcourt, towards the Pistons backcourt. All he had to do was just maintain pressure, but he basically decided to reach over the guy's back to try to get the ball, as if he was going to basically, I don't know how he was going to get the ball from the guy. The guy had a better, basically, the man was between him and the ball. So I don't understand why he basically reached over the guy. So that was just one example. But yeah, the guys are just very inconsistent and they have a very long way to go. But I do believe they're talented. And I do believe the Knicks are going to win some ball games. I don't think it's going to be like a 22 win or even 25 win team like people are saying. I really think they're going to win above 30 games. It's going to be ugly and it's hard to see watching this game, but they're going to win some ball games. And I remember those Bulls teams, especially without Derrick Rose. Those are some kind of ugly wins. It was like, they play great defense. They'll shock a team, get ahead. These teams think like, okay, we can play like crap in the first half and play like crap a little bit, like halfway through the third quarter, and then we'll turn it on in the fourth quarter. And they tried that on those Bulls teams. A lot of the opponents did try that, but it never worked. The Bulls will bring in Nate Robinson in the third quarter. Nate Robinson will go off, basically put up like 15 points in the third quarter, and the Bulls will get like a double-digit lead, and then they'll just kind of like nurse the ball in the fourth quarter and get whatever baskets they can get and make it life like hell for you. And you wouldn't even be able to, it would be almost impossible to get a basket against them. And that's how they were able to win a lot of those games. And I think they're going to have the same formula for this next squad. Um, and as far as the offense, I keep saying like it's ugly. It's going to be ugly. I don't want to take Thibodeau off the hook on this. He definitely needs to find a better way to take advantage of our strengths. Obviously, we're not making our shots. It's going to be tough, but he may have to get creative. He's going to have to figure out his lineup very quickly and figure out how he's going to play. It may have to be a 10-man rotation. It seems like they may have something here where if you're going to play hard defense like this, um, it may have to be a 10-man rotation, and he's going to have to do that where he just swap teams out and then and along the way maybe mix and match a little bit, depending on who gets in foul trouble or who's struggling the most. But he's going to have to figure out the lineup, and so the offense gets a lot smoother. But hey, look, this is only the first game, and it's the first preseason game, so everything I said could be nonsense, right? And all we know, the Knicks all of a sudden looks better on offense, and then the defense become atrocious, and then they win only like 16 games. But I don't think that's going to happen, in my opinion. Um, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, it's only the first game. Again, guys, I really appreciate you guys listening to this quick post game analysis. Please like, subscribe. I really need you guys to subscribe if you can, just so I can, make some more videos. It's gonna get better. I'm really working on my technology, so I have better videos for you guys. So this one seemed it wasn't as smooth as I liked it to be, but I appreciate you guys watching and uh, sticking through it anyway. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.